Tunsil has to get signed to a contract extension. I don't care how old he's going to be for the back part of a 3 to 4 year contract extension. This position, left tackle, and having an elite level pass protecting left tackle, there's 6 or 7 of them in the NFL. And every year there are only 6 or 7 that can do it at that level. When you have one, you've got to keep one. Here's one thing I wanted to mention. It's interesting because I had a conversation with somebody yesterday after the show about this. I forget who the caller was who suggested we're going to learn a lot about, whether or not Adam Peters is on a budget after this particular season more than we have in previous seasons. And this goes back to, the idea before they even, attacked the Terry McLaurin contract situation. And you had just Javon Kinlaw as kind of the outlier on a longer term deal. I threw it out there not knowing anything. And I don't even honestly think that there is something to this, but it's something that occurred to me. And one of our callers yesterday brought it back into the conversation. And that is, could there be a situation going on right now where after spending $6 billion on the team, after spending already north of $100 million just to make Northwest Field safe enough to allow spectators to come and watch games. And now with the big expenditure over the next few years, $2+ billion for the stadium, and what they're going to have to come up with when Jaden Daniels is eligible for a deal, which would be after next season, after 2026, in the offseason of 2027, which could be an outlay of somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 million. Now, that won't be guaranteed, but a lot of it is going to be guaranteed. And is it possible that we've seen a lot of these one-year deals with, kind of base salary driven contracts because they don't want to spend a lot of money? I don't think that's true at all. I don't. But Nikki Jabvala said something to me last week on the show. She said that, it would have been nice had they just come up with the extra $500,000 to keep Olamide Zaccheaus here. And it was strange. I thought that was a lock that he was going to be back. I knew, and everybody that knows anything about the team knew that they loved him a lot for not just his production on the field, but they like him as a person. They think he's incredibly smart. They think he's the right guy to have in the locker room. And he's also pretty good on the field. And it was like a foregone conclusion that they were going to bring him back and that there would probably be some interest. And ultimately, he took a little bit more money and maybe for a better opportunity in Chicago. But Nikki said that to me last week. And I was thinking, as I was just talking about Marcus Mariota and the need to sign him to a contract, is $8 million last year. What if it's $12 million this year off of him getting all of these starts? And maybe there being some competition with other teams, not only for perhaps an opportunity to compete somewhere to start next year at 32 years old, but maybe a bigger deal to come in and back somebody up. So I hope that we don't get down to one of those Zaccheaus situations, if that's the way it played out, and you end up coming up $1 million short. He signs 1 million 1 year, 12 million. Or somebody gives him 2 years, 22 million, 24 million, and Washington only wants to go 1 year, 10 million, or something like that. Mariota's a significant signature in this offseason. They have to retain him. Looking at the list that I went over a week and a half ago, like, to me, Mariota, Chris Paul of the unrestricted free agents are absolute givens. You've got to bring both of them back. I think Jacob Martin has earned his way back at least as a rotational guy, if not a starter, depending on what happens, with the other DN spot. Dorrance Armstrong hopefully comes back. Hopefully he's healthy. He's ready to go in 2026. But you don't have another defensive end under contract right now. in terms of, a potential starter or a key rotational guy. McNichols, Rodriguez, Tress Way are also unrestricted free agents. And then Debo will be an interesting conversation when we get there. Tunsil has to get signed to a contract extension. I don't care how old he's going to be for the back part of a 3 to 4 year contract extension. This position, left tackle, and having an elite level pass protecting left tackle, there's 6 or 7 of them in the NFL. And every year there are only 6 or 7 that can do it at that level. When you have one, you've got to keep one. They didn't trade for Laramie Tunsil to play this year, next year, and then enter unrestricted free agency in 2027 as a 33-year-old. They didn't. So they got to sign Tunsil. I think Luvu's going to be an interesting conversation on whether or not to extend him. So there's a lot going on. We're going to learn something. I don't think that's where we're going to land, meaning I don't think we're going to end up having conversations in, say, April, before the draft. My God, why aren't they spending money? Why aren't they spending money? Why are they doing all of these one-year deals or these super short-term deals again that don't include a lot of guaranteed money? I don't think we're going to be there this year. I think we were there in year one because they were just recalibrating. They were trying to figure it out. I think we were there in year two in part. Look, they did end up paying Debo for 1 year. And they traded a lot of compensation and draft picks. That doesn't equal money, but they did take on some big contracts, certainly in the Tunsil current deal. But yeah, I think that, this was more about adding a few key pieces because I think they felt like if they were healthy, they could compete for something as soon as this year. But I think going into this offseason, there's now a true, real kind of overview of what they have in that locker room talent-wise, and there has to be a significant upgrade in talent. Forget about just getting everybody back healthy. That'll help, obviously. This would be a different season. Maybe not a contending season, but it would be a different season had they been healthy. But they need more than just good health next year. They need a pass rusher. They need an edge setter or two. They might need another corner. They might need another safety. I mean, they might need another interior defensive lineman or two, depending on what happens with Payne. They're going to be able to free up 19 or so million, letting Lattimore go. If Payne doesn't survive, and I have a feeling he won't, that's another 17 million, add 36 million to 90. You're at 126. You're right there in the top 4 or 5, top 3 really in terms of available cap space. Allegretti saves you, 4 or 5 million, something like that by releasing him. So they've got some opportunities, to really create more cap space. At the same time, Tunsil, Luvu, and then going out and spending. It'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out in what will be, the offseason we weren't anticipating a few months back, but one that will be super scrutinized from so many different angles. By the way, I had somebody mention to me just about how good a couple of the players that weren't drafted have been, singling out Jeremy McNichols in particular. He was an Adam Peters player and considered to be just a guy when they signed him. He's been a lot more than that. Man, does he seem to figure out a way on 3rd and 10 to make a catch and move the sticks. The runs he's had, some of them have been the most spectacular runs of the season. Including that, 3 tackle break in the Raider game for the touchdown.